So welcome everybody, delighted to have you join us here this afternoon. We're going to have a very interesting and insightful discussion about the future of digital coloured gemstone trading. Clearly life has changed for all of us under lockdown. It's very difficult for people to travel now. Digitized technologies across many sectors in many industries are speeding up. And one area in which that clearly is the case is coloured gemstone trading. So I'd like to firstly introduce the panel. I'm delighted to be joined by Tony Brooke, who is the chairman of Gembridge. Hello, Tony. Glad to have you with us today.
Good morning, David, and Saudi Kap Tuk Tan from Thailand.
Greetings from Thailand. And may I introduce also Nick Marrett, who is the CEO of Gembridge, a new digital platform for the trading of coloured gemstones, pearls and jewellery. Hi, Nick, how are you today?
I'm well, David. Thank you for having me.
And Nick is joining us from Singapore. And Elke Berr, a very senior gemstone trader, is joining us from Geneva. Where at the moment we have the Christie's and Sotheby's magnificent jewellery sales. Hi, Elke.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you.
Great. Thanks for joining us. So a very international mix here, Bangkok, Singapore, Geneva and England. So we're from all over the world. We're going to have now a discussion focused on the future for digital coloured gemstones trading. If I may just kick off by asking Tony, who is the chairman of Gembridge, a new platform which is due to launch formally early next year, a platform that offers trading of coloured gemstones, pearls and jewellery. Tony, can you outline for us what is your vision for the future of coloured gemstone trading digitally?
Well, if I can just start, basically the world has been moving online for the last 10 or 15 years. And to be quite frank, the gem and jewellery industry has been behind the blackboard. We've been very late in adopting an online strategy. Most companies to this day are still floundering around. And of course, with the advent of COVID, it's really focused everybody's minds on how behind they are. So this, in my mind, is the major opportunity for new platforms. Obviously, our platform, Gembridge, is leading the way. But I think across the board, all companies that wish to remain relevant going forward are going to have an online presence. Obviously, our particular platform will be taking future members and clients on board. But in any field, dealing in gold, gems, jewelry, the fact of the matter is that company has to have an online presence, without a doubt. So taking that on board, the millennial market, they're all trading online. Generations of people have been raised basically online. So for them, buying gems and jewelry will not be a big step. It's just a case of our industry taking that on board and factoring that into their business model. I think if we understand that, then really there isn't a particular issue going forward. The thing that people have to understand is online trading can be done. You can trade with trust if you work with the right partners and have the right platform. And again, not wanting to push Gembridge, but that's what we're all about. We'll be talking later about how trading with trust can take place. But the reality is companies are already dealing, shall we say, between Thailand and China. They're dealing online. Major buyers in China are already still trading despite COVID. They're still buying and selling gems and jewelry from Thai manufacturers and dealers through their online platforms. Obviously, they require very stringent due diligence. They need testing facilities. They need to be sure that what they're buying is actually what they've received for independent certificates, etc. But really, any company with the right advice in this day and age has to be trading online. It's as simple as that. And it's something that one has to get in sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. So turning to Nick, Nick, you are the CEO and also, like Tony, a founder of Gembridge. I mean, could you elaborate for us how you see the future of digital coloured gemstone trading, and why you feel it is an inevitability?
Well, I mean, I think the digital revolution is here and is unstoppable. I think the impact it's going to have on the industry is it's going to dramatically increase each of our trading networks. I mean, traditionally, the industry has traded in small, trusted groups because it is an analog business. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest changes with technology, transparency, connectivity. You'll be able to, through the new trading platforms that are going to develop, increase your trading network from a handful of people to 100 people. And, the opportunities are very exciting in terms of the growth, I think. The other thing that I think is going to be really interesting is the industry, which I think Tony touched on, has been an outlier to the main economy and the broader business community for most of its history. And one thing that digitalization is going to do, digital best practices are probably going to align the industry as close as it's ever been to the main economy and the main business sector. And I think that's going to bring benefits, and specifically the ability to get financial institutions involved in a much heavier way. Banks bring liquidity. Liquidity will bring growth in the industry. And I think it's actually a very exciting time. I mean, one thing that's true about this industry, because it's been an outlier, it hasn't been incrementally moving forward in terms of whether it's regulatory protocols or business practices, etc., or the adoption of new technology, and it has been slow with digital. What that allows it to do, I think, is actually take quite a big leap, because there is a big space between where the industry is versus, vis-a-vis digital best practices in other industries. I think there's a huge opportunity for the industry to move forward dramatically if, the right protocols are put in place, the right business practices are shared, and ultimately the right technologies and platforms and products and services are brought to market. And certainly from a Gembridge point of view, that's our goal.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick. So turning to Elke. Elke, I've known you for some years now, meeting you at the Geneva magnificent jewellery sales, the Christie's and Sotheby's sales. The Sotheby's sale is actually happening today in Geneva.
Yeah.
You are very established in the trade, and the trade has been very much built about personal network, who you know in the business, how the buyer knows the seller, and so forth. Why do you feel, in that context, that a digital future for coloured gemstone trading will be essential?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. We are very traditional gemstone dealers. So normally, if we have a demand, we call our friends. What do I have? What can you propose me? And it's very limited, and very often we cannot even fulfill the requirements because we don't have the stone adapted. And in fact, my mind changed also because of your webinars. I was following several of them, as you know, and I was really once struck when I was hearing also what is the future and everything. And one thing stayed in my mind when it was they say in China, for example, the digital is already in, the people are buying already on internet. And what they said, it's that the middle-aged person, they will buy for the elders and for the younger. And I think there is a growth percentage of more than 30% in the market. And so I was saying, yeah, right, we have to do something. We cannot just sit in the office and wait. It's time to change. And okay, I had demands. And so what I did, we started to do videos, we sent photos out. And I saw, yeah, we could sell not huge stone now, but we could start to sell some smaller stones or some smaller jewelry. And so it started really very slowly. So we were really in the progress. So I suddenly saw this vision and I said, yeah, I have to do something. We have to change. And then hopefully I met Tony and Nick and we contacted and I say, yeah, there is something to do. And you know, we are living in a world now, it's so fast, it's so quick, everything has to be real time. And I think everything is rapid. We have to propose stones. We can't wait 3-4 days anymore like we did before until we find the right one. the customer wants it now, and we have to provide them now. And so with this Gembridge or other digital method, we can just click and search and propose. So everything will be adapted to the new market. Very often my son, who is 20, was saying me, "Oh, mama, stop it. Be quick. Just check it. Just go on the internet. Just do it out." And so I think the vision for the future, and for my friends who I hope they will follow this, yeah, I think we have to change. And this is my vision, personal vision. Yeah, we have to do something, even if you don't like to do it in the first sight.
Great. Well, I just want to elaborate a little bit more on the why there's a digital future, to expand a little bit on the vision of the panelists. So if I may start with Tony, I mean, clearly in the present time, it's extremely difficult for people to travel internationally. I mean, for example, looking at the Geneva magnificent jewellery sales, I mean, my own trip had to be cancelled because of logistical nightmares due to COVID-19. Could you explain a little bit why this hasn't happened so far? I mean, given that we are in this digital space and have been for some time, why, obviously during the COVID crisis, it's more likely that we're going to get digital transactions happening, but why people can trust a digital platform also for trading coloured gemstones, and why it can be an effective platform. I mean, is the camera technology and the security of transactions good enough to ensure secure transactions?
It's a combination of many of those points that you just mentioned, David. Up until 10 years ago, really online trading was so new, people jumped into it, companies jumped into it, particularly in America, and they were basically trying to game the system. The images that they put up onto their platforms were embellished, cut, photoshopped. Basically, the goods just didn't look like they were when you received them, assuming you did go as far as to make a purchase online. It was a very sort of Wild West, if you will, situation. But over the last 5 years, particularly, the prescient companies have gone online and have started to trade, and are now reaping the benefits. It's basically as simple as that. The millennials, of course, for them, it's perfectly normal to be trading online. So there's really no issue there. I think without the online presence that we have now, the future is very grim. Obviously, as you mentioned, COVID has focused everybody's minds. But even before COVID, the younger generation were starting to deal online, were trading remotely much more than they were. And the people my generation, as I think we mentioned briefly earlier, have just got maybe 5 or 10 suppliers that they've been working with over the years. They'll visit the trade shows, do their purchasing there, and they're happy to do that. But COVID has completely tipped the apple cart over. And so now everybody's realized, hey, if we don't get online, if we don't start trading, as Elke was saying, there will be no business. How can we get new goods in hand to show to our clients? So that's now the situation that we find ourselves in. Online trading is a crucial component of developing your business model going forward. I think even trade shows are going to struggle when we get through this. They will have to adapt, and they indeed are adapting. But a lot of online trade is going to take over from the old methods of doing business. It's a simple equation, really. If you look at someone who's, as I said, doing the trade shows, they have their 10 regular suppliers. If you go through an online platform, such as Gembridge, that can be multiplied out to a factor of 100. If you're working with people who have gone through very severe due diligence, you can trade with trust. Everything can be fully insured if the platform is correct, which of course we have put together with Gembridge. So rather than having to spend tens of thousands of dollars every year to travel from Switzerland to Bangkok, visit the trade shows, buy gemstones, and then travel back, you can now stay at home, take care of your kids, or play golf, or whatever it is you want to do, and still buy and sell safely and securely through an online platform such as Gembridge. So I think once people have got into that mindset and are actually actively trading, which they're starting to now, there's no going back. I really don't think there's going to be any going back.
So thanks. I mean, if I may turn to Nick, the digital outlook seems to be very clear, but it's not as though anybody can just create suddenly a digital platform to trade in colored gemstones, is it? I mean, I know that you have gone into extraordinary detail to create, if you like, a very secure platform, because people, they need to be able to buy and sell with trust, don't they? So could you tell us a little bit about what the steps you've taken to try and ensure that there can be confidence for buyers and sellers in a digital platform for the trading of colored gemstones, jewelry and pearls?
Right. I mean, probably the first step that we took is we're actually a regulated marketplace, and we believe we're the first one in the world. We're regulated out of the financial hub here in Singapore. If you take a step back, there's an overarching sort of international group called the FATF, the Fast Action Task Force, which is regulating 200 countries at the moment, looking at money laundering, terrorism financing, politically exposed people, and a number of other things that are obviously a threats to the security of just doing business generally. That is being rolled out around the world. Singapore, as always, sort of takes the lead on these types of things, and enacted the Precious Stones, Precious Metals Act here about 12 months ago, which is one of the countries in the world to bring that sort of new regulatory regime into its territory. And as a result, we're actually a regulated marketplace. We're regulated through the same financial institutions that regulate the financial global hub here. And so that ensures, if you look from a Gembridge point of view, that all our business standards, our practices, our protocols are world standards. So I think that's really important. So from there, we then, as part of that, our obligation when we bring clients on board, particularly from an anti-money laundering point of view, is they go through quite a stringent verification process. So a KYC process, as it's known in the general business community. That means every single. That's right. So every single member. So if you're a member, and this will be the same for other opportunities in the market. You have gone through those checks and balances. So the great news is that you also know that every other single member has gone through the same checks, balances, and international screenings. And we're talking about hundreds of databases and millions of data points all over the world that are totally up to date. And so you're in a community already that is trusted and secure. And obviously you then need to operate within a system. And the key thing that we do, I think, and that needs to be done to make international trade effective, is you need to de-risk it. And de-risk it is really, it comes simply down to the counterparty risk. Am I going to get paid? And if I'm a seller, and as a buyer, am I going to get what I paid for? And so from our point of view, we obviously act as an intermediary. We collect the money and we hold it before any articles, precious stones are released. One of the most important things, I think, for any international trading platform, whether it's us or anyone else, is quality control and independent verification of precious stones. In that regard, we have developed our own standard, a new standard of verification, which is where we match precious stones to their certificates, and we just make sure before they get shipped to the buyer that they're exactly as advertised. And so, as I said, in the simplest terms, you want to get paid. You want to get paid timely for what you sell. And when you buy, you want to receive exactly what you bought. And when you're talking about remote trading and potentially people trading from one side of the planet to the other, these are critical factors that must be part of the service you use if you're going to use the trading platform.
Okay, thank you. So Elke, from your perspective as a senior trader in Geneva, would you have confidence, for example, in the efficacy of camera technology to showcase the gemstones in the best possible light through imagery on a digital platform? Or are you completely confident that the buyer will be able to see in a sufficient detail the beauty and the depth of the stone? Is that coming across well to you digitally, would you say?
Yeah, so this is one of the big challenges, because when talking also to my friends in the market, they were all saying, but how you can sell a stone online? You don't see it really, you don't see the color, you don't see the inclusions, how you will do it. But in fact, coming back also to your question before, being at the auctions now, I checked the stones and I had friends calling around the world. Can you describe me the stone? Can you make a video? Can you send me the pics? And it's not only the pics, it was also my description, which I gave. And then one important piece which was sold yesterday, one of my friends was the underbidder, just from what I was saying and sending to him. So as it will be also the Geneva hub for Gembridge, for us it was absolutely important to have the right pics and the video ready. So I'm very happy that one of our employees, he's an excellent photographer. So we installed really a studio. And in fact, some pictures we put now on Gembridge, I was saying, but the stones, in fact, they look better than they are because they are so precise that the inclusion is coming even out more than it is. And we are for descriptions also, we are very strict with the descriptions. So we preferred the other side to tell more better, to make the stone better than better. Because the thing is, if you get the stone, it should really, as Nick told, be the stone we saw before. And that were also with the verification process. For me, this was very interesting with Gembridge because I would never buy online like that, I must say, and too traditionally. But with the idea that there are hubs, that we can go there, we can see the stone, that we get a good idea already on the platform, and then we can have the stone either in consignment or verified by somebody else, which I can trust. All this make really my mind changing. I say, yeah, this is an opportunity. That's really a great thing to do. And that's why also we got into that. And so we are able here now to make really good pics, video. We're still improving and saying, okay, we can verify the gems and the jewelry when they come.
Great, and I know that we're going to be looking at some videos and stills of stones that have been consigned to Gembridge a bit later on. Could I invite everybody, please, do feel free to ask questions on the Q&A button, because we will have a Q&A session towards the end of our presentation. So, and we'd be delighted to take on board your questions just to really flesh this all out, because it's actually quite a complicated scenario, the detail of how to get into digital trading of coloured gemstones. So please do submit your questions on the Q&A function and we'll get to those a bit later. If I may just move on to how a vaccine may make a difference. If I could just first ask Tony, clearly we had the big news about FISA, and there's a lot of optimism out there at the moment about the potential rollout of effective vaccines, even within the next few months. What difference can a vaccine make to this? I mean, would it in any way slow down digitization of coloured gemstone trading? The fact that perhaps people will be able to get on an aeroplane again? I mean, what are your thoughts?
It would be lovely if that was the case, but I think in reality, no. I think it's probably going to be, looking at it in a pessimistic way, 2 or 3 years down the track before everybody worldwide has been vaccinated, and it's been proven that those vaccines are efficient and that people would have more confidence to travel. But that said, again, so many people still will be reticent to travel. The worry, anybody that's got underlying health situations, I've got many friends who have said point blank, they're not going to travel anymore. It's just not worth it at their age until they're absolutely 100% sure. Now, as I said, that could take 2 or 3 years till we get to that point. In the meantime, so many companies will have already adopted online trading practices that, again, I think it's highly unlikely that they will go back to the same old methods of doing business. Once companies, through, for instance, a platform like Gembridge, realize through peer reviews that they are able to trade safely with trust across the platform, everybody will realize what's the point of going back to the old system. I think, as I mentioned briefly earlier, trade shows are going to adapt. Gembridge, we are already in discussion with a couple of countries regarding their trade shows, whereby there will be a combination of online and offline trading, and there will be shop fronts, for instance, for all the people who have got booths at that show, and they will be able to trade and transact through the platform without actually physically flying, shall we say, to Bogota for an Emerald Symposium and an Emerald trade show. So it's really, yes, COVID, if and when they find a cure, it will help. But when's the next one going to roll around the corner? You know, that's another thing. We were talking with a new member of ours who will become, we hope will become ambassador, Gembridge Ambassador in Brazil, my mother, and that's exactly what she said. With climate change taking place, so many people are concerned about that, and the thought is, what will be the next COVID that comes around the corner? So that worries there. I think most people, as I said earlier, with any underlying health issues, they will just decide, no, let's just stick with what we've learned, the new, which is online trading, and that will be it, I think. It's just a case of time, really. In 10 years' time, I think face-to-face meetings will not quite be a thing of the past, but they will be greatly reduced. One of the things, again, just quickly to mention, again, it's a cost thing. The amount of travel expenses that companies have been spending over these years, and now that can be just safely put away to buy extra stock or whatever, but buy a larger online platform or whatever. So that's basically the situation.
So just to elaborate on that further, Nick, I mean, what are your thoughts of, if you like, vaccine impact on the future of digital coloured gemstone trading? I mean, presumably if some people can travel again, some will. I mean, some will just be delighted to renew old acquaintances, and maybe there'll be some short hops around Europe between London and Geneva and so forth. But essentially, as Tony's outlined, presumably people will still be a little bit wary of trading, perhaps particularly on the longer haul flights. What are your thoughts on vaccine impact? Let's just assume, you know, let's be positive in the sense that the vaccine will roll out and that there will be a cure. Assuming that, what will that mean, if any, for digitization of coloured gemstone trading?
Well, I think maybe before I answer that question directly, what's true, and this is already evident right across all of the economy, is whatever was trending from a digital point of view going into COVID is going to come out trending at a much higher rate. So the rate of change is going to increase dramatically. So I think, you know, it's out of the bag, and I don't think we're going to go back. And I mean, I'll touch perhaps later on supply chains not just being disrupted, but just breaking. So the composition of business is fundamentally changing, I think. If we take an optimistic view, so Tony takes a pessimistic view, I'll take an optimistic view. I think people will be a little reticent about traveling too far. I think that you'll definitely get back to regional travel. And I think that perhaps will look at, you know, making the hubs even more important because you won't have people traveling around the world. I think people, you know, the world will, you know, and even in the most optimistic scenario with the vaccine, it's still going to take a long time to vaccinate and the risks are going to be there. I think the more mature and older people will probably be a little reticent. The younger people will just embrace change and change with it and be quite happy. But as a result of that, I think short-term travel will probably come back. I think people in Europe will obviously go to the main hubs, the same in Asia, and I think that will play to the strengths of cities like Geneva and Bangkok and New York. And I think that's what, in the most optimistic scenario, I think that's what's going to happen. You know, and from our point of view, that's kind of how we've set up the trading platform with regional offices in places like Geneva, Bangkok, Hong Kong, New York, Brazil, etc. I would say that's probably the most optimistic point of view.
And Elke, I mean, from your perspective in Geneva, how do you see vaccine impact? What impact do you foresee in terms of people traveling, meeting with you professionally in Geneva? Do you sense that there'll be a sort of a parallel two-pronged outlook, which will combine, you know, physical gatherings or meetings combined with digital transactions as well? Is that what the future holds for us?
This is exactly what I want to say. For example, myself, I could not live without meeting my friends, my business friends. I like to travel. I was always fascinating to go to the mines to really be into it, to take the things out, to see it. It's also seeing goods. I have people in Brazil waiting that I come, and all that. I will not stop that because this is part of my business. I talk personally, but I think the mentalities are really changing, and for everyday business or special demands or demands we have, a platform, it will be very easy just to do the business and not to wait that I have to travel if I can travel. Can I go to this fair or can't I go? And you know, Geneva, for example, has been cancelled. We were all waiting for it. We put in place something else, which was called Geneva-based. We were invited dealers from outside visiting the office. Even this we had to cancel. So I think you can't just sit and wait how things somehow will happen because there's a vaccine or not, and even if you want to get vaccinated or not. So I think for every day, for our business, it's very important to have a platform to be able to deal, but in the same time, we should not at all neglect personal contacts, personal friends, personal looking for goods. But I think the combination is very easy to be done both. If you just would do only digital, I think a part of our passionate business, I'm a passionate about stones, would fall apart. So, but I think the both is necessary now because the mentality are changing. 1 year ago, if you would have invited me for a Zoom meeting, I would say, hey, what, a Zoom meeting? No, I want to see David. I don't want to be on the screen with him. So mentality are changing, my mentality too, and I think also the mentality for Geneva dealers or dealers otherwise will change. That's my point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for that. So let's just go into a little bit more detail now. And I reiterate, please do submit questions. I think we've got a great question in already from Indonesia, from Lulu. Please do send in more questions while we go through our presentation. But if I may turn to Nick next. There are a few platforms emerging for the digital trading of gemstones and jewellery in this period, Nick. What makes Gembridge unique and viable from your perspective as the platform that you believe people should be using?
Well, I mean, I think it addresses the major challenge everyone's facing. As I kind of touched on before, supply chains aren't being disrupted, they're being broken. And so you need to relook at how you're doing business and who you're doing business with, which I think is the main point. So I think what you need is a platform that is going to allow you to develop new business relationships very quickly in an environment you can trust. We are, as I said, the only regulated marketplace. So we bring protocols and business practices that ensure that all our members are stringently screened right across the world. So whether you're a buyer or seller, whoever you may be doing business with within the Gembridge community, you can rest assured that they have successfully gone through that screening process. Our system is based very much around managing counterparty risks. So it allows you to accelerate new relationships. That it means that you can have more frequent transactions. You can transact with more. You can transact with higher values, which is important, which is going to bring growth. You know, as I mentioned in my first snippet, one of the things I fundamentally believe is digital innovation is going to bring this industry closer to the broader business community than it's ever been before in terms of sharing business practices. And I think this is going to allow big players that perhaps have been a little gun shy of the industry because they didn't quite understand how it worked, didn't understand the risks. And I'm talking about banks, as I said. Banks bring capital, capital bring liquidity, liquidity bring growth. Same thing with insurance. We have great relationships with both types of institutions. We've been able to bring, for example, in terms of de-risking international trade, we've been able to bring in innovative insurance policies that allow people to trade with new business partners and have some protection. I mean, really, at the end of the day, what Gembridge is about, it's about de-risking international transactions. That's who you're trading with, what you're trading, and how you're trading. And I think that if you tick all those boxes, I think we answer a screaming need for the industry as they're looking at their broken supply chains to say, how do I establish new relationships quickly, but in a way that I can do it and know that I'm going to get paid in a timely way, and know just as importantly that if I buy something, I'm buying exactly what was advertised. And that all has to happen over thousands of miles with people that perhaps you may never meet face to face. And our system is set up to, our system and service is set up to do that.
And Tony, can you tell us a little bit about why buyers and sellers should feel confident that they can trade with trust on a digital coloured gemstones trading platform? And also, what has been done to ensure that there, as far as possible, that there is a responsible supply chain in the gems that are traded on the Gembridge platform?
Well, I think as Nick just touched on, it's a membership within Gembridge. You've all gone through very serious due diligence and peer recognition. So even to be on the platform, you've already got to be almost certainly, obviously in the trade, a member of an association. You've been fully verified as a legitimate trading entity. So once you do start trading backwards and forwards, the trust is built up through just peer pressure, and the whole system within Gembridge is regulated all the way through. Shall we say there's a member in Bangkok who's got a sapphire. This is actually a transaction that took place. That sapphire, the 3-carat sapphire, was already certified, but it's on the platform, and a client a member in Paris saw the piece, wanted to buy it. So they said, right, we're going to buy that piece. The money is deposited in the Gembridge account. The owner member here in Bangkok then delivers the stone to the ICA lab, where it's taken into custody. At that point, ICA then verify through a verification report that the certificate and the stone are one and the same. After that's been completed, which takes a very short period of time, then Brinks or a designated courier from the client in Paris will then ship the stone to Paris, and the transaction takes place. They could also potentially take the goods on consignment, or if they're sure they want the piece but not on consignment, they can ask to view the stone in Paris, and that'll be done, shall we say, through Brinks viewing office. At which point the client can see the stone and make a decision. Yes, I really do want to buy that, and then the payment is cleared. So trading with trust, the risk has been taken away. It's been de-risked across the board. At the end of the day, even if having gone to the point where, for whatever reason, really that's just not really what I wanted, it could be returned, fully insured, fully guaranteed. So that's crucial as far as the online platform is concerned. So taking that on, responsible sourcing. Once you've got a dedicated group of traders, business people, wholesale to wholesale, it's to all their best interests to be trading with responsibly sourced gemstones. Now, sorry to mention the same transaction again, but that particular transaction, the client's client in Paris did want to receive a stone that had been responsibly sourced, and the stone came from Sant Enterprises, a major dealer here in Bangkok, world class, and they had full paperwork from the original mining area in Sri Lanka. It's somewhat similar to the Kimberley process with diamonds, so it can be proven that this stone has been responsibly sourced. Now, moving forward, the Gembridge platform, we are going to be working very closely with the RCA, the Responsible Jewellery Council, not RCA, Responsible Jewellery Council, and SIBJO.
And you're already, I understand, a member of RJC,
yes,
is that right?
Yeah, RJC, we are already a member. I'm actually on a Thailand representative. And we fully intend to be working together to find a way whereby eventually through blockchain, every stone coming from a mine will be immutably recorded on the blockchain, and every transaction as it moves through the supply chain will be recorded. We're not there yet, but that's where we intend to go. And again, all members of Gembridge will be expected, or not required, but expected to, as they move through over the coming years, they become RJC complicit to ensure that the supply chain is indeed secure and responsibly sourced. one other thing I might just add, what do we do with the $1 trillion worth of gems and jewelry already out on the marketplace that was mined 50 or 100 years ago? That's a huge conundrum. And again, this will be one of the things that Gembridge over the next 5-10 years we will be doing our best to find a way out of that, whereby we can bring these gems and jewelry to market, and they can then slot into the market, and they've been proven to not come from conflict areas, etc. Not easy, but this is something that we're looking forward to getting to grips with over the coming years.
Okay, great, thank you. So before we look at some gems, if I may just ask Elke very briefly, if you could sort of sum up how the business in high gems has changed in this current pandemic period in Geneva, from your own perspective. Presumably very few people are traveling in and out in this period, and do you feel this is essentially one of the key reasons why you see a digital outcome as being inevitable?
Yeah, so what, for example, I was really astonished. If you look, because we were talking about the auctions before, so you see, for example, the online auctions, it's incredible the amount of pieces selling now online through the auctions. It's incredible also the amount of pieces selling online, even colored stones. Personally, also I was interested in one piece, and yesterday I was talking with the dealer in New York who told me he was very astonished that a $700,000 sapphire was sold through video and pictures and not seen visually before. So I think there is something going on. We can't stop that. People can't travel, people are coming in. So we are also proposing, as I said, I get even calls, I mentioned before, from friends, can you check this and this and that? That's why I say, I think also it's really a huge opportunity being the hub in Geneva. So if there's the high stones, nobody, or not many people, I think, will buy now stones for 500,000 up, for example. So we as a hub, we can receive the stones. We can, of course, in the pot front, we can check it. Of course, it has to be checked before. We will check the certificates that the stone and the certificates match. It's not myself. Of course, there will be a lab doing that, or like another expert. And then the people can come physically and see it. And so it's a combination of both. It's a combination of gemstones on the platform and a physical view. And this, I think, will completely change things. A lot of, anyway, to Geneva, a lot of goods are already coming, but I don't know what's all lying now on the platform. But I have a friend telling me, oh, come here, let's see this stone or the other one. But with this possibility, there will be much more available and much more visible. So I think that's a huge difference.
Yeah, and I can reinforce you, because I track the auctions market at the high end very closely, and I've witnessed the great success that the big auction houses have had during this pandemic period in conducting auctions online. I mean, Sotheby's, for example, early in the lockdown period in April, sold a Cartier Tutti Frutti Art Deco bracelet for $1.3 million, which was a world record price for any jewel sold online. So clearly there is a lot of confidence in the security of the transaction, but also trust in the intermediary in these cases, such as Sotheby's and Christie's. If we may now turn, Tony, to some of the highlighted consigned gemstones with Gembridge. So Gembridge will formally launch early in 2021, but I understand that some of these gems that we're going to look at now are already available for trade. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We are in the minimum viable product stage at the moment, which is in fact a test phase. We have our 25 initial members who are all leaders in their particular geographical areas. And they've already provided us with almost 150 listings. This, for instance, is a fantastic example from Diane Rusa, Kunsalil, a very old friend of mine. They're a major high-end jewelry manufacturer here in Thailand. I mean, this particular piece, it's a 5.6 or is it 5.8 carat no heat Mozambique Ruby.
It's 5.06 carat.
Yeah, that's it. Vivid red. It's a no heat stone. It's spectacular. The setting itself is truly a delight. And again, it's a rare stone. It's also very open. Some of the Mozambique stones tend to have a bit of a dark sheen to them, but this particular piece is gorgeous. And it's shown there. I think you've got the basic view of it. There we are. Yeah. And we
fabulous stone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fabulous stone. It's very clean stone as well. And we do our best. This particular piece, I don't think you've actually got the my video explanation of the piece, but I think the next piece that you'll be showing, if you may, yeah, here we go. Now this is KGK, again very high profile, biggest, largest diamond trading company in the world. They're very happy to be a part of the Gembridge family. This particular piece is gorgeous. It's only a 3.5 carat stone, but it's very clean.
And here we
go. Yeah, go ahead. Play that. That would be.
Have lot number 57. This is a truly delightful Colombian emerald. It's 3.67 carats, is vivid green, and only has minor enhancement. The octagon shape is truly delightful. As you can see, the proportions are wonderful. It's very clean. I have to say, very, very clean actually, and displays all the attributes of a fine Colombian emerald. Thank you.
So there, just before you go, if I can just so there, as Elke was mentioning earlier, Elke's very good with her descriptions of her pieces. You have to explain really what the stone looks like, warts and all. I mean, if the stone does have a fissure deep inside the stone, you must mention it during the description. This is part and parcel of the process of being able to sell something online where you're trading with trust. So yeah. It's really Gembridge, as I said, all of the potential members are vetted, and we promote to them the whole idea. It's self-censorship, if you will. You really got to be brutally honest as to what the stone is like. So here we have another lovely piece. This is Crown Color. Lewis Allen, a very old friend of mine. In fact, his son Jason and my son Jasper are best friends. Yes, this is a gorgeous piece, 23 carats. It's a lovely Madagascan vivid blue or royal blue stone. It's completely clean. Now, again, it does have a slight color zone at about 11 o'clock, but it's not a major distraction at all. And indeed, once this stone is set in jewelry, you wouldn't even notice it anyway. Now, this is something that needs to be mentioned. It's part and parcel of the process. Yeah, perhaps we can, I can't remember what I said on my review here, but.
Lot number 109. Here we have a magnificent Madagascan sapphire. It's royal blue in colour, weighs 23.94 carats, and has had no form of enhancement. It's a no heat stone. As I rotate the stone, you can see there's a slight colour band at about 11 o'clock, but the proportions are generally pretty good. It does have a small feather deep in the stone, but it's not visible to the naked eye. Once this stone is set in jewellery, as you see when I set it to the back of my hand, that colour zone disappears. So all in all, this is a lovely piece. Thank you very much.
So yeah, there we are. Gembridge members we would hope, be following the same self-regulation and ensuring that the pieces that they see or other members see on the platform are exactly as described. This piece is really spectacular. This is a 9.29 carat, I believe, Mozambique Ruby, pigeon blood. There we are, it's pigeon blood, and no form of heat treatment. This is a very, very rare stone. My hope is that the secondary market will pick up its speed. We are starting to hear of Mozambique rubies coming to the auction houses. But it normally takes 5 to 10 years for new products to come online. And really, the Mozambique stones have only been online seriously for about 5 years. But it is starting to come through. I think Elke's mentioned that there have been a few pieces that are starting to come through. But when you see this piece, compared to a Burmese stone.
Here we have lot number 110. This features a 9.29 carats Mozambique Ruby. It is a delightful cushion cut. It is a pigeon blood colour, a gorgeous no heat stone, which is well proportioned, as you can see when I rotate the stone. It has no visible inclusions and is an altogether marvellous piece. Thank you very much.
So again, there we are. That really is a fantastic piece, and it's looking for a good home. We do actually have a few more magnificent pieces that we'll be bringing forward over coming webinars with you, David, including the star of Mozambique. Again, I believe it's a no-heat 7-carat stone, which is truly spectacular. But again, this is all part and parcel of the trade with trust through the Gembridge platform. We give as much information as is possible. The stones are independently certified, then verified by a third party, fully insured across the board. And I'm sure many people are going to be transacting through this platform and other platforms over the coming years.
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, what I took from that, which was really fascinating, was that you state the specifications exactly as they are with the stone, and that this is essential. So it's very clear what you're buying. You know exactly what the
Yes.
full specifications are, and they're very clearly and accurately stated.
Yeah.
Great. So let's move on to the Q&A. We have a question from Lulu Pasha, a journalist in Jakarta, whom I know well. Hi, Lulu. And she is asking, well, firstly, do you have any Indonesian gemstone or pearl dealers yet? And then if she then goes on to ask, how can you ensure that every step of the trading process is trustworthy, from content discovery to trade financing and door-to-door logistics? Let me throw that one very quickly, if I may, at Tony to start off.
Yes, obviously Indonesia's very near to Thailand, a major market actually for Thailand. I must be honest, no, we have not approached Indonesia yet. We have stuck at this point to basically, I think it's about 15 major countries that have got certification laboratories in place, where we have got very strong personal links to them, and we can curate and manage the development of Gembridge at this early stage with confidence. As far as Indonesia is concerned, I've got 4 or 5 old clients there who will be approached as we move forward. In fact, at the moment, we have another 130 potential members that we will be approaching over the next 2 weeks. And in there, I think there are 4 or 5 Indonesian potential members. So don't feel left out. Indonesia will be part of the fold. I'm actually also vice president of the Thai Gem and Jewellery Trade Association, so I've got some very strong links there through our trade shows. So don't have any fear that will happen. And as far as knowing is everything completely above board as is represented, I think Nick and I and Elke have, I believe, already answered that question quite substantially through all the different methods of testing and laboratories and verification, etc., and of course peer review. So I hope that answers your question.
Quick follow-up, Tony. How does one become a Gembridge ambassador? One person was asking.
Well, you have to have massive amounts of credibility and knowledge, as someone like Elke does. It doesn't come easily, I have to say. You basically will be chosen. I have to be brutally honest. There's no sort of trying to promote oneself to become an ambassador. People who become ambassadors for Gembridge are people who've got a very high profile in the industry. Their reputation precedes them. And we've been very, very careful about that. We have Jean Geraldine, a very close old friend of mine in Lebanon, who is one of our ambassadors, Clement Saba in Brazil, Armil Samun in Sri Lanka. We've got a very, very strong team of ambassadors, and we're looking forward to building it as we move forward. And lest I forget, of course, Edward Berr in the USA.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to direct the next question at Nick. Nick, we have a question from Irene in London. She asks, will the costs of creating all of the safeguarding systems, if you like, for a digital platform like Gembridge, how will those costs balance against, if you like, the decrease in traveling costs for a dealer? So if a dealer is not traveling as much in the future, will there be additional costs built into a digital system relating to increased verification, paperwork costs, that sort of thing?
I think we're generally looking at decreasing transaction costs by about 70% on in general across the industry. I mean, there's no question that as the industry, as digital transformation takes hold and the industry changes, the cost of doing business will change. I think travel's a very big part of it. And but at the end of the day, there's still going to be costs. I mean, in terms of our business model, I mean, we charge 5% to the seller and 3% to the buyer. Within that, we ask for our members pay for transport and also verification. We pay for the photography because we feel the photography is important, and it's an area that we're going to innovate. And it's important to the actual communicating the authentic information to our members. And so I think we feel pretty comfortable that trading through Gembridge will put people in the black vis-a-vis trading in a traditional sense. I mean, you know, the bottom line is through digital transformation, your connectivity goes up. And I mean, as I kind of touched on before, you know, the industry trades in very small, very, very long-held trusted relationships. Now, what we do is you take the nature of those relationships and begin to put a multiplier to that because of the way we build our community, we manage our community, we verify it, but also the system in which you trade, where we make sure you get paid and we make sure you get paid, you get what you paid for. And so that multiplies those trading relationships from maybe 6 to 10 to 50 to 100 to 150. And of course, if you're trading on that basis, you're going to be well ahead of where you were 12 months ago. And I mean, that's the promise of digital transformation, as costs reduce and friction reduces as well, just in terms of the regulatory environment. You should just expect to be trading more, be trading and be confident enough to be trading in larger transactions, and you know, overall have a very positive effect on the industry and on your bottom line. I mean, if that's not the case, then we're in the wrong business. I mean, we have to be adding value to the industry. And you know, when Tony and I first started talking to the industry about this a couple of years ago, what really buoyed us and gave us enthusiasm was the best reaction we got were from the wholesalers and members of the trade. When we talked about it, I remember one of the first meetings we had, and this was before COVID. At the end of the presentation, the guy smiled and turned to his partner, and I said, "You'd said we don't need to travel anymore. We don't need to go to those trade shows anymore." You know, people will look at this in all different ways, but the actual it will have a fundamental effect on the cost of doing business in this industry, and it will be very positive.
Okay, thank you very much. Two more questions. Our hour is just coming up. We've got two more questions just to quickly fit in. So if you could just kindly answer these ones briefly. A question from Anjum Cave, who's one of our regulars on the Jewellery Outlook webinar series. How far would you go at Gembridge to showcase your sourcing stories with the digital consumer? So maybe that one for Tony. Obviously, provenance sourcing is very important with gems. How much of this sort of information will come across on the Gembridge platform?
Yes, we're going to be having highlight pieces each month where we will, as an example, there's a 143 carat color change garnet where it's traced from the mine site in the rough, shown being cut, then faceted and presented to the marketplace, It has a GIA portrait certificate with full disclosure, full description. It's like a book basically, and that's something that we're going to be doing going forward. We've got our major, well, all of our members will be looking forward to presenting one of their spectacular pieces, and potentially being able to do the same as Elke will be able to do, which is to give the description themselves of the piece, where it came from, the provenance, how they came about finding that particular piece. Another thing that we're going to be doing is voices of the industry, who will be explaining a stone that doesn't belong to them, belongs to somebody else, but will give their input as to how spectacular it is and the impact it will have on that given market.
Very good. One last question, and that's it because we're out of time now. This is from Gary Lane of the UK's National Association of Jewellers. Hi, Gary. Thanks for joining us. Gary asks, and this is one I think is for Nick, will the buyer pay the supplier direct, or will Gembridge facilitate the payment? Sorry if this was said earlier, I joined late.
Well, that's okay. Just very quickly, we're an intermediary, so we hold the payment. So basically, it's paid to us either via bank direct debit or through our gateway, and we hold the payment. As sort of Tony gave the example before, the gem then leaves the seller, goes directly to a independent lab that is a partner of ours, depending on where it is in the world. It gets independently certified, where the cert is matched with the gem, and then it's dispatched. And once it arrives safely in the hands of the buyer, the money is then released. But the payment takes place first before the gemstone leaves the seller's premises and heads to one of our labs. And then the chain of custody isn't broken until it is in the hands of the buyer.
Thanks, Nick. So I should just say, for those who would like to register to become a member of Gembridge, go to gembridge.com/register and register on the form there. And just to add that the registration will be subject to a peer review. And hopefully that will be straightforward for those who would apply. So thanks very much indeed, everybody, for joining us today. We're going to have a webinar next week in which Gembridge will present itself in much more detail. And we'll also have a look at some fabulous gemstones that have been consigned to the trading platform in that webinar. Thank you very much, fellow panelists, Elke, Tony and Nick, for joining me today. It's been a very insightful and forward-looking discussion as to how the landscape of coloured gemstone trading will change digitally in the years ahead. So thank you very much for joining me. Stay safe, everybody, and goodbye.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.